So this story takes place in the summer of 2009, and the date is a little bit important because it takes place in the Middle East, and so this was a much cast your mind back. It was a much calmer period in the Middle East compared to now. So that just keep that in the back of your mind as context. So I was living in England at the time, and I was going to school, and there were very long school vacations in England. And a friend of mine and I started traveling in the Middle East. And the first trip that we went on was to Lebanon and Syria, which are very close to England. It's, I think, 2.5 hours to Beirut. And our sort of MO on these trips is to fly into the sort of major city where the airport is. So in Lebanon, this is Beirut. And sort of see what's happening in the major city, and then drive or get a taxi because I don't have a license, and just sort of drive around the sort of rural areas in the town or the province or the country, and sort of see what's happening. So in Beirut we did this. We hung out in Beirut for a bit, and then we took a taxi and we drove around the southwestern part of Lebanon. Lebanon's not very big, which the southwestern part is entirely controlled by Hezbollah. They actually have different flags flying around. They have excellent shawarma in Hezbollah-controlled part of Lebanon. But again, it's 2009, so it's a very calm period, so that's why these are not super inappropriate comments that I'm going to make. So we did that, and then we came back and we went to Syria. And what you do if you're traveling in Lebanon and Syria is that you take, there's a shuttle or a bus or a trolley or a tram or just private cars that go from the bus station in Beirut to the bus station in Damascus. You can just sort of pull up, and it's like a free market carpool. So even people that are just making the trip on their own will rent you a seat in their car. It's great, so we did that. It's 2.5 hours, and we land in Damascus. Now, if you've ever been to Damascus, the sort of main, big, exciting thing to do is to go to the Old City, which is a sort of large bazaar. It's very much like the Old City in Jerusalem, if you've ever been there. It's a bit bigger, and there isn't the tripartite religious division, but it's essentially the same sort of idea. And it's fantastic and wonderful, and there's excellent food, and so we did that, and then we had some time. So our MO, of course, is to do the travel around thing. Now, another thing that you might notice if you go to cities in the Middle East, and this may actually be the case in many other places, there's always a sort of like very expensive enclave. So in Damascus, there's the like Four Seasons Damascus and all the like Four Seasons Pier hotels Damascus, and there are some sort of nice apartments and diplomatic residences and so on. And if you really want to go see what's great in a city, you should find those, and it's easy because they're taller than everything else, and then you turn around and walk the other way. And so this is what we did in Damascus. And if you do that, you get outside of the old city and you get into like suburban Damascus, which is kind of like, Parkdale Damascus, is maybe a good way to think of it. Maybe like Parkdale 50 years ago. So it's very sort of low rise. It's a bit shoddy. The outdoor aesthetic is not very nice. It's a lot of sort of concrete and rebar. But there are lots and lots of, what are they called? Satellite dishes and antennas on top of people's houses. So it's really hard to get a sense of how wealthy it is or how poor it is. So we're wandering around and we're wondering these things, and it's lovely and sunny, and we come to this very large wall, a very tall wall, so we can't see over it. And we're walking along in there, and there really is a giant iron door in the wall. So it's a sort of two-barrel door, so you push either side. And so, of course, being in Syria and Damascus and traveling, we just like push it open, obviously. And it is open, and we go in, and there's a sort of courtyard and some basketball nets and this building, and it turns out it looks like an abandoned school. So we go in, we just kind of march in the middle of the afternoon, and there's nothing really around, and yeah, it's an abandoned school. So we walk inside, and there's sort of classrooms, and there are broken chalkboards, and the chairs are broken, and so on, and so we take some pictures in the abandoned school, and we eventually make our way up, it's 2 floors, onto the roof of the abandoned school, as one does. And so we're looking around, so now we have sort of like nice views of the neighborhood that's around, and the school is set up with sort of like 2 wings like this, and then there's a centerpiece like this that holds them together that's a little bit taller, and on top of the centerpiece there are 2 lonely Syrian flags just sort of flying in the breeze. And we look over and we both kind of get the exact same idea at the time, I'm sure, which is souvenirs. So we climb up this ladder, and we like get onto the flagpole, kind of like this, and they're hooked on with wire and so on, and like the school is totally abandoned, right? And there's nobody around, so we just like take down the flags. And actually, I brought it here so everybody can see. This is my stolen Syrian flag. It's very dirty, it's authentic outside. So we got the flag, right? And we trouser the flags, not actually in our trousers, but in our bags. So we have the flag, and we come down, and in the courtyard, there's a basketball hoop, right? Now, Aaron, who's my friend, and I are not as tall as some of the guys who've been talking tonight. And Aaron also is really, he's really big on challenges. He's a big, manly man type guy, totally unaware of his physical stature. And so I challenge him just kind of funnily to see if he can dunk on this, basketball hoop, right? There's nobody around. It's, the other basketball hoop is fallen over. So he drops his bag and he runs over and he tries. And of course he totally misses. And he hits the backboard, which is really loud. And this is when we discover that the school is not actually abandoned. So there are these guys in the wing of the school that we didn't go into. So we went into the one side and up to the roof and then into the center roof and back down. But there are these other guys in the other wing, and they see us because of the noise. And they start yelling at us in Arabic, which of course we don't speak Arabic. So we sort of like very calmly, pick up our stuff and just kind of like walk away to the door, and they start chasing us across the courtyard. So we go through the giant iron door and like literally just like smash it closed. There's no lock obviously on the outside, and we just take off down the street, like walking quite fast. But these guys are faster. And so they chase us down the street and screaming at us in Arabic, and they're really angry. The other interesting thing about Aaron, my buddy, is that he is quite short, but he's big. He's a philosopher at Oxford, so he's very, very smart. But he also used to be a pro-caliber motocross racer and work at a foundry. So he made steel for cars. So he really is like a Spartan. And he has very little patience for people who aren't Spartans, like these dudes who don't speak English. So they come flying down the street chasing after us, and we've got the flags in our bags, and we have cameras because we were taking all these pictures of the abandoned school, and they catch up to us, and they start pushing us because we're just trying to walk away and ignore them, like we can't understand you, so you must not be talking to us. And they're pushing us and holding on to us, and Aaron is now doing the thing with the like chest and the guy, like, are you touching me? What's going on? It's very clear this is awkward. You shouldn't be doing this. And then a car pulls up beside us, and there are these two Syrian guys in the car, and they speak English, so they can translate for us. And this is when we discovered the school is in fact abandoned, but it was abandoned in favor of the military. And these guys are in the army. And so it's clearly like it's transitioning, it's clearly still being cleaned out. So it's not, like an actual military base, but it's like a future military base. And we have all these pictures of it that we just took. And we also have these like flags, which are clearly not abandoned, in our bags. And the guy who is really angry at us that only speaks Arabic is pointing at the bags. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to die. And so they start translating, and Aaron, our cameras are also in the bags, and so Aaron, smart guy, philosopher, whips out his camera really quick. And they seem to be really concerned about the camera, so they don't know, I don't think, that we have the flags. And if we can get them to just look at the cameras, maybe they won't search us, right? And we're trying to communicate this in English to the very nice Syrian guys, and they're translating back and forth, and Aaron just starts deleting pictures on his camera, which I don't know if anybody else has this experience in the Middle East, but wherever we travel, we're always having to delete our pictures. So either we might just be doing something wrong. But so we're deleting pictures, and I have my own camera in my bag, which I haven't taken out, and they don't seem to realize that we both have cameras, so I still have the pictures, which is great. But Aaron's deleting the pictures, and there's more yelling, and they really want us to go back to the school, which, keep in mind, is surrounded by a giant wall with a serious iron door that it takes two hands to push open. And the Syrian guys in the car are saying, it's no problem, this happens all the time, they just want to talk to you, it'll be totally fine. I'm just like, no, it's not happening. And there's more chatting. So Aaron and I jump into the car, into the back seat of this car, which seems to be the sort of like decisive action that brings people to order. So I'm not sure if we were really in trouble, I think they would have, like, get out of the car. But they seem to be like, oh, well, something's happened now, and maybe this is okay, and it's more trouble than it's worth. So they sort of trundle off, and the guys drive away in the car. So we're in the back seat with these good Samaritan Syrians. And we're telling them what we did, and they're saying, stupid, stupid, stupid. But we don't tell them the flags, because we're not really sure what's going to happen with that. So they're really nice, and we travel, and we go to this cafe, and we, want to, like, buy them beers and so on, which is fine. And so we're having beers and chatting with them, and it's great. And then we go to pay, but they won't let us pay because it's some sort of custom or pride or etiquette thing where you can't pay. Like, you want to take out your guests, and if you're foreign, you're a guest, and so we want to pay for you. But there's no way we're going to let these guys buy us beer because they just saved us. So we come up with this plan, which is that Aaron will arm wrestle them, and if whoever wins gets to pay. So Aaron takes off his shirt, and he's got the big muscles, and I'm there taking even more pictures, and it's amazing. We totally have it out on this patio, and we win. So we get to pay, and so we got to repay our Good Samaritan Syrians in the end, and I still got the flag. Thank you.